All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the May Cash Day. By way of introduction, my name is Thomas Pace, chair of the organization. A little bit of housekeeping. All attendees are muted. Please use the chat box to introduce yourself, ask questions. Try not to do any marketing for your particular company within the chat box. And as always, I mentioned the National Day, and today is National Flip-Flop Day. They say that flip-flops are to promote good vibes, so hopefully we have good vibes in this meeting. And I love flip-flops. If I could wear them to work, I would, and occasionally do. I won't tell the CBO or superintendent, but occasionally flip-flops are seen in my office. A couple other things to note. This afternoon, we have our Maintenance, Sustainability, and Environmental Committee meeting from 12:30 to 2:30 at the Capitol Event Center and by Zoom. We also have our annual Conference Planning Committee meeting from 1:30 to 2:30. That's through Microsoft Teams. You should have gotten an invite for that. And then there's the State Allocation Board today at 4 o'clock. Clicker, okay, all right. My clicker. Nope, not working. All right, well, there we go. All right. Cash Legislative Advisory Committee call for nominations. Their business. We are currently looking to fill 3 public sector seats, 3 private sector seats. You'll see the link where you can get more information on that. And please apply. We're always looking for dynamic, passionate individuals. So come and apply. Let's see, what's next? Fun. Wednesday, June 18th, we are doing our next cash web shop, focus on maintenance, planning, and budgeting. So if you want to know about standards of cleanliness and maintenance, how to communicate with your board and community around maintenance, please join us from 10 to noon. We're going to move on to state agency updates. And so I think we have an update from John Gordon with the California Department of Education. John, are you online and ready to go? Okay. All right. So no John Gordon. I don't know, do we have, after John, I think we were going to turn to Brian Lepask. With OPSC. Okay. All right, so why don't we move them to the back? So if they show, we will move them to the back, and we will move on to updates from our advocates. So we will start with our cash and legislative regulatory maintenance network update. And so we'll invite Nancy Charas Espinosa to come up and give an update. Clicker's not working.
Thank you, and it's still good morning. Let's kick it off with what's going on in the state legislature. This past Friday was the last day for fiscal committees to hear and report to the floor bills introduced in their House. We commonly refer to this as the House of Origin. For committees, we're coming up on the House of Origin deadline. So what this means, what happened last week, is that the appropriations committees cleared their suspense files. So bills that spend $50,000 or more general fund or $150,000 of special fund money get sent to the suspense calendar so they can be considered en masse. This past Friday, the appropriations committees in the Senate and Assembly went through those. It's very rapid fire, over 1,000 bills. The Senate passed about 71% of those bills, and the Assembly approved 65% of those bills. For some reason, it still feels like the Red Wedding episode from the Game of Thrones for those of us who have to go through it. So this week, folks are licking their wounds. That's really the order of business. The next hurdle that these bills have to reach is to be approved by that House of Origin. That deadline is coming up Friday, June 6th. And bills that survive that process will then move on to the second house, rinse and repeat. So policy committee hearings, fiscal committee hearings for most of them, approval by the full house. If they're amended, they go back to their house of origin for a concurrence vote. All of that needs to conclude by mid-September at the end of session. The other big thing that just happened is the governor presented his May revision to his proposed fiscal year 2025-26 budget. That was on May 14th. Given the passage recently of Proposition 2, we did not expect any new general fund support for the school facilities program, and we were not disappointed. There was none proposed. Unfortunately, the governor did propose to sweep or reallocate, revert, I would say, the remaining $177.5 million in general fund support for the school facilities program. This is the same pot of money that in February, the State Allocation Board decided to restrict to school districts affected by the Southern California January wildfires, so effectively 2 school districts. The administration now claims that those districts are unable to use the money before the statutory deadline that it imposed when it allocated those funds. So we are going to, of course, engage in that conversation and wait and see what happens there. We also are waiting for more information on another potential round of kitchen infrastructure and training funds, which the administration did propose in January. LAO advised against, and it was unclear from the May revision whether the governor still wants to move ahead with another round of funding for that program. Similarly, we are waiting for more detail on the allocation of Proposition 4 state climate bond funding. This one, unlike the school facilities bond, actually does leave room for the legislature and governor to make some decisions. So there was one pot of money that included funding for urban greening, which school districts could qualify for. So we're awaiting additional detail on that. And I want to provide an update on one bill, our cash-sponsored bill, AB 503 Gonzalez, Civic Center Act fee reauthorization. This bill is moving ahead at a great pace. It was approved by the Assembly Committee on Education, and then by the full Assembly on consent. It is receiving bipartisan support. It's currently in the Senate Committee on Education, waiting for a hearing date. That could be as soon as June 11th or as late as mid-July. We are obviously pushing for the earliest hearing possible, and we've got a good chance of getting it. So since the bill is in the possession of the Senate Committee on Education already, that means you can submit your support letters now via the portal. The new deadline, the next deadline, will be about a week before the hearing. And of course, once we know that official date, we'll push that out in the Cash Weekly. So stay tuned for that. And with that, I'm going to pass it to my colleague, Rebecca.
Thank you, Nancy. Happy May. I just had to think, where are we? What month is it? Because we're always thinking forward when we're talking about the budget. And one of the things that continues in the budget that was unchanged at the May revision is the commitment to allocate $1.5 billion in school facility program money for projects in fiscal year 25-26. And part of that is related to this Prop 2 implementation. So there's been a lot of work there that OPSC has been doing to conduct the stakeholder meetings. They have planned 10 different stakeholder meetings to date already, and those have been great presentation from OPSC on proposals. They've got numerous policy issues that they need to work through, and they've been really good about receiving feedback from our members and from CASH and other stakeholders as they're considering all the different paths that they can go down to implement Proposition 2 and the specific topics and issues that are in there. So we really appreciate that spirit of collaboration. We do want to ask you, our members, to provide feedback to your cash advocacy team when you're looking at those documents that OPSC is posting in advance of the meetings or even after the meetings and the topics have been presented. Please reach out to us and let us know if anything in there gives you pause, if you've got feedback, if you've got thoughts, if OPSC is presenting multiple options and one of them looks better to you. We'd love to hear that from our members. One item that we want to just update you on, we've been talking a lot about the master plan requirement. And remember, that is a statutory requirement that was in AB 247. It was in Prop 2 as passed by voters. And so now in order to access those dollars for projects that are submitted on or after October 31st of 2024, you've got that new requirement to submit a 5-year master plan. And that conversation with OPSC has been really productive. What Cash is trying to ensure is that this master plan requirement does not inhibit access to the program, and that we're able to strike a balance between meeting those statutory requirements, ensuring that there is a productive planning document that does not inhibit access to the program. And the conversation has really been going that direction. What Cash is asking for is that school districts are able to compile documents in order to meet those statutory requirements, that different formats will be accepted, et cetera. And that's all been really positive. One thing that has given us pause in this conversation is that OPSC is wrangling with, well, what's the term of a master plan? How long is a master plan eligible? When do you need to go back to the drawing board or update your plan when submitting applications? And in their April stakeholder meeting, OPSC proposed that a master plan would be eligible only for 1 year after the governing board has approved that master plan. And so what Cash is saying is that we don't agree with that interpretation of a 1-year, 5-year master plan, that we believe that those plans should be eligible to meet that statutory requirement for 5 years from the date that they are approved by the governing board, that would be consistent with the intent that's in the statute. Of course, there might be an opportunity to update some of the details that change, right? So enrollments change, capacity change, you might have a change in your needs at the local level. But a lot of those things get picked up in your application documents as you're demonstrating that you've got eligibility and need for those dollars from the state. So we're continuing to have that conversation with OPSC and also invite for our members to provide feedback on this and the other proposals. Pivoting a little bit, I want to share about a couple of bills. One is a bill that Cash is supporting. That's AB 699 Stephanie. And so this is related to that issue that we've been talking about for many years now, since 2017, related to the language that voters see on your ballot label when a local bond is being presented. So we are supporting AB 699. It is sponsored by the nonprofit Housing of Northern California and some other housing organizations. They're taking a turn sponsoring this important bill. And what it is doing is it is providing an option. So under current law, you have to state the rate, the duration, and the amount that you expect to receive annually in that 75-word ballot label. And what AB 699 does is say, okay, if you want to continue to operate using the requirements that are in current law, great, you can continue to do that. But another option would be to include a statement on the ballot label that directs voters to their voter guide, where there is additional and enhanced information about the potential tax rate impacts and other financial considerations related to your proposed local bond. So what we've been seeing since the change in that ballot label requirement in 2017 is that there is a lot of confusion about those three pieces of information, the rate, the duration, and the amount that you expect to receive annually. And when something is really confusing, that is not exactly in the spirit of transparency. So this bill is is continuing to move through the legislative process. It did move through that gate that Nancy was describing, the Appropriations Committee. So we're really excited to see that happen. And it will next be taken up on the full assembly floor. Remember, it has to repeat the process again in the second house on the Senate side. So there's still a road here to go before getting to the governor's desk and being considered by him. But we're excited that that bill is continuing to move through the legislative process. And then one other bill that I just want to mention to folks is we've been watching. So Cash does not have a position on this bill, an active position, but we're actively monitoring AB 361 Schultz. We've talked about this in a previous Cash membership meeting update, but this is a bill that would provide, again, another option, this time a procurement option. So it's expanding an existing best value program that's in statute that LAUSD enjoys. And so this would expand beyond LAUSD to all school districts. And it would be for construction projects that exceed $1 million. So you've got that price threshold in there. Best value allows you to have the best combination of price and qualifications, so you're not just selecting the lowest bidder. So an option there. There are some sunsets here that are under consideration. So for LAUSD, it would eliminate their sunset and make the authority permanent. And for all other districts, we'd have a sunset of December 31st of 2030. It does require skilled and trained workforce or a project labor agreement in order to access this program. And then through the legislative process, there has been the addition of reporting requirements. So if you use this new option, then you have to submit a report on the use of the method that's prepared by an independent third party. So legislature wants to see some data and information about the effectiveness of the program. So that bill did pass off the Assembly Appropriations Suspense file, and it is now heading to the Assembly floor to be considered by the full House there. And we'll keep tabs on that and keep you informed about this option as it moves through the legislative process. And with that, I will welcome up my colleague, Ian.
Thank you, Nancy and Rebecca. Good afternoon, everybody. I think it's almost afternoon. So I am going to update you on the status of a couple bills that are of primary concern to school maintenance departments, although they're certainly a broader concern for facilities in general. The first one is AB 832 by Assemblyman Marisucci. If you remember, he was the author of AB 247, the school bond bill. He's the chair of the Assembly Education Committee. This bill proposed two things as introduced. One, to reinstate the CalShape program, right, for funding for school HVAC systems, and proposed a new standards, state standards for school HVAC systems. Long story short, in terms of these bills going through this gate, this bill did not make it through. There was a lot of concern about its funding source. This was not funded out of the state general fund. It was utility ratepayer funds, and so there's a lot of competition for those. And so in the legislative scrum, that bill was held in committee. And related to that, the funding that was for CalShape last year, around $250 million is being swept in the budget as part of the solutions to address the projected $12 billion budget. So the issue of air quality still an issue, but the CalShape program basically did go away. So we'll see what happens going forward. But right now, it's gone. The other one, other bill, AB 927 by Sharp Collins, and that relates to Williams inspections, specifically when can you conduct those during the year? The under existing, we think, statute and law and practice, you can conduct them all throughout the year. But this bill initially proposed to extend what they thought was a 4-year time span to an 8-year time span. So it's in context, it actually restricted it. So there's a lot of discussion about the bill Long story short, it's good news. There's no change to existing law, so you can continue as you have before to conduct Williams inspections all throughout the year as your department warrants. Of course, this is good news for a lot of folks, but in particular, some of the larger districts that have to conduct a lot of inspections. So also related to Williams inspections, if you remember a couple of years ago, AB 599 was approved, signed by the governor. That institutes new variables for calculating who should be federal variables for calculating who should be inspected. In the next few years here, the amount of schools that will be inspected is to increase about 60-70%, something like that. So Williams inspections, even though this bill didn't make any particular changes, still on a lot of folks' minds because there's a lot of energy focused on them right now. The other one is what is it? Tom mentioned that Cash's new committee, I'm going to try to remember it, maintenance, sustainability, and environmental. Thank you for my not so silent whispers bailing me out. I did want to say a little bit about that. That one is a combination between the Cash Maintenance Network as well as what we've called a little bit too generic, the Cash Environmental Committee. And what we noticed that there was a lot of maybe 70-80% of the issues that of concern were common. And so this committee has changed its focus a little bit. We're still kind of getting going, but I think it's a useful one. It's describing a lot of the issues that relate to compliance and the building code and the building systems environment. And so will continue to be an issue. We're having a meeting today. And we think that discussions in that will be very productive. I also want to highlight, as Tom did, the June 18th Maintenance and Operations Workshop. We will definitely get into aspects of planning. You heard that there is a master plan is being developed by the Office of Public School Construction. One of those pieces, one of those 8 elements in there is to demonstrate that you have an M&O plan, a maintenance plan. So that'll be a new, if you want to access state funding. So that'll be something new. That's one of the issues that we'll highlight in the workshop, as well as other significant M&O funding issues. One of them is the state auditor's audit on custodial staffing ratios and cleanliness standards. That one, we haven't seen any legislation be introduced related to it, but it's a pretty significant piece of information, makes a very powerful argument for long-term sustained funding for maintenance and operations. We haven't seen that in a while, so that's something we'll also be working with. And also at the fall conference, we're already planning and thinking about that. This committee is going to have a 45-minute presentation on following up on these issues. So what I'm basically doing is flagging a lot of the maintenance issues that we're focusing on. We're seeing a lot of interest in these types of issues at our conferences and so on. So we want to make sure that we meet the expectations of our members. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Tom. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy, Rebecca, and Ian. I must say that when it comes to maintenance, I think there's no greater group that can affect education outside of teachers within a school district. My daughter recently graduated last week, actually, from high school, but was taking her AP biology test when the fire alarm went off. If you can think about how much time and effort goes into studying for an AP test, to have the faulty fire alarm go off, it's very disruptive to the educational process. And so I love the fact that we are getting into the weeds on best practices within maintenance and operations. And it also reminds me that this is I love this time of year because it is truly, we get to see the fruits of our labors in education. the amount of time and effort and all of the bills we just heard of, all of the budgets, all of the conversations within school districts finally come to a head every springtime when our children graduate and move on. And so I think this is the perfect segue to the California Department of Education, because I think we got John Gordon back on the line. John, are you with us?
I'm here. I'm sorry. I wanted to be in person there, and well, I just didn't couldn't squeeze over there in time, so I apologize. Good to see you, Tom.
Hey, man, I was going to say that I was going to say the 2 block walk was a little too much for you to squeeze over here.
Well, by the time that I got patched in, I realized, well, I could have made it over there in about 5 or 10 minutes. It was like, about 2 minutes to 10 minutes, I realized I don't think I make it by 10 o'clock. So next time I'll sprint over there and get all sweaty for you. And
Well, I got to
get all,
tell you that I think that Sacramento is so beautiful this time of year. Take the opportunity to get outside and see all the beautiful trees, the city of trees.
Mhm.
I learned today that there are more trees in Sacramento than there are in Paris, or residents of the city of Sacramento. So, John, the floor is yours, and look forward to your update, sir.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. Again, sorry, not able to be in person. I do have a couple of updates I want to share with folks. My counterpart, Christopher Miracle, who's ed administrator for our policy unit, is no longer with us. He moved to a CSBA and just shifted over there, which actually he used to be there back when I was a school board member years and years ago. So exciting opportunity for him. Interesting opportunity for me as I'm trying to pick up where he left off regarding the work on Prop 2 and the priority schools. I do have a couple things to share with that. We are in the process of working with OPSC on their facility master plan guidelines, which I'm sure Brian LaPaz will talk a little more about. We're also seeking to get a little more feedback on our priority schools program. We have some initial feedback, and we've done some stuff up at the CASH conference Chris did back in February. As we are working to refine our regulations, we realize we need to get more feedback and probably kind of expand our scope in terms of what districts could qualify and developing further developing our criteria. So stay tuned for that. I know we reached out to the small school district subcommittee on that, and we'll be following up with those folks. I think the other really exciting thing is that we just released our new the latest and greatest application for cycle 7 of the Career Technical Education Facilities Program. This will be the 7th cycle. There will be 300 million. The application, if you've participated before, looks very much the same. Points are a little bit different, and where they were placed after we've had some internal review of the application and just kind of prioritizing things. But overall, we're excited to release that, and we will actually going to do something a little bit differently. We're trying to get out of the Stone Age and into the electronic age. And we're working on developing a portal in which you will be uploading your application here in November. It's due December 1 in November, so that you don't have to submit 3-4 paper copies and go that route and save yourself some postage and paper. Speaking of trees, so feel free to check out the application. I will put it in the our webpage in the chat. Just so that you folks have access to that. And like I said, the information on how to upload to the portal will be coming out here later on this year. And I think that's more or less the long of it. We did do a webinar with OPSC and DSA, a tri-agency webinar here. I think it was last week with Angel Dowdy, my one of my field reps, on CTE. So feel free to check that out. I think with that, that's more or less what I have to share today. I have questions.
John, always appreciate the update. And for those who don't know John, I can tell you that I've had an opportunity to collaborate with him on several projects, and I've always found him to be a thought partner, very introspective and collaborative. And so we always appreciate the collaboration with the California Department of Education. And I think now we're going to transition to our update from Brian Lepask from the Office of Public School Construction. Brian, are you with us?
I am, Tom. How are you today?
Perfect. Good seeing you, sir. I always love the background of your beautiful building.
Yeah. I too tried to make it there today. My son broke a finger a few weeks back, and so I had him at the doctor this morning. Wasn't going to be able to make it all the way. I'm actually out in Orangeville, so I'm not right next door like John was, but I was intending to be there, and I should be next time. So looking forward to seeing everybody next month.
Well, there's nothing worse as a parent than an injury to one of your children. I think you feel that pain more acutely than any other pain, including your own. So
yeah, and not to get too personal here and take up too much time, but he was on the verge of qualifying for sections in shot put and discus, and he broke a finger, which was kind of a bad break for him, especially as a sophomore on varsity. It was going to be a big year for him, but he's got 2 years left, so we're optimistic about the future.
Well, we hope he feels better, and I was going to say no pun intended on the bad break.
Yeah.
Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I have a few updates today. So on our stakeholder meetings, since the last time I was here, we've had a few meetings. In the near future, we're going to be resuming advancing topics of interim housing and natural disaster assistance. The 5-year master plan, a really big topic that we've been working really hard on. TK, as it's not the TK supplemental grant, but TK as its own grade level on the enrollment reporting form. We're still working on that. And then I think other than that, it's just energy efficiency in the small size school district program. Those are big deals. Just that I think those are the last two topics we still have going. We're hoping to get them wrapped up as soon as possible and as soon as it's appropriate. We'll take as much time as we need, but we're hoping that we're going to be able to get some resolution to those topics and really be prepared to advance those regulations to the state allocation board and then through the rulemaking process. We've made really good headway on all those topics. We've received a lot of really robust, really productive and constructive feedback. We appreciate that so much. I really do. And I know if you watch those meetings, I talk about that a lot, but I really believe in it, how important that feedback is. We've shifted paths entirely on several, I guess maybe a nuance or maybe a sub point within a topic based on feedback. And so that's why it's so important. There's a different perspective out there, and we want to get that, and we want to make sure we're understanding where you're coming from. So thank you to everybody who's taken the time to do that. On the 5-year master plan topic, there are a lot of nuances there. We've been meeting with a lot of small school district advocates. We've received a lot of information from your group, Cash, as well as many others, some of the bigger districts out there, some of the smaller districts out there. We're doing our best to compile all that and bring it forward for you. It's a really hefty topic. There's a lot of nuance to it, and there's a lot of details. And so I don't know the exact time frame, but we're trying to get everything organized and turned around to you as quickly as we can. So I can assure you, I was looking at stuff at 10:30 last night. I mean, we're all working really hard on it, trying to get that wrapped up and out to you again. So we have completed some guidelines that John mentioned. It's over at CDE right now for them to take a look at. And that'll also be a part of our next public meeting, is to bring forward those guidelines. They're meant to be more of kind of a plain term guide to the program, or to it's not a program, but a plain terms guide to creating a master plan and to maybe even updating one that you already have. And so we view that as an integral resource to really make it successful and to hopefully provide as much flexibility and assistance as we can. We know it's a a new requirement that's getting a lot of attention. It's going to, take some time and take some getting used to. And so we're trying to keep all that in mind when we're moving forward on it. At the June State Allocation Board meeting, not this meeting today, but next month, hopefully it's not, I don't want to lock it in yet, but we're intending to present regulation packages for some of the items that we've already parsed a lot of the way through, talking about SFP matching share, the minimum essential facilities supplemental grants, the transitional kindergarten supplemental grants, the facility hardship and seismic regulation clarifications that we're doing. And then also, I think we're getting really close on 75-year-old building replacements. So lots of progress, a lot of topics, a lot of details, and a lot of information, but we're getting there. And, it's like I said, it's a little tentative at the moment, but we're hoping that we'll have those prepared in time for the June SAB. Again, I wanted to thank everybody who's been attending those meetings, who's reached out to collaborate with us. That's how we get great programs. We look forward to continuing our journey together as partners in the implementation of Prop 2. And that said, I personally, I think we can improve our meetings even a little bit more, especially when we're looking at regulations. I really think that's a very important thing to do carefully. So I'm hoping that maybe we can get a little bit more in depth, especially on the most pertinent requirements and the pertinent areas, and kind of talk about why we're putting those words on the page and what they mean and what exactly we were thinking when we did that. So I'm going to be doing my best to elevate our presentations a little bit, maybe slow them down and look a little more carefully at some of the pertinent sections. When you have a presentation like that, sometimes it's easy to get scared of that quiet space. But I'm gonna promote that a little bit more in hopes that we get some input. And I know not everyone's going to have a chance to look through the items super carefully before each meeting. But even if it's, whether it's during the meeting, after the meeting, before the meeting, if you have any time at all to look through those, we really value your feedback. So we're ready to listen to any input you have, and we're hoping to continue to make this great progress and get everything wrapped up and get that going. So really bright future there, and we've made a lot of progress, and it's really all thanks to you guys. So we appreciate it. John mentioned the Career Technical Education Facility Program webinar that we had last week. I thought it was great. We were joined by Angel Dowdy and David Kentz from CDE, as well as Ron LaPlante from DSA San Diego. Really great people to have there, had a lot of great things to share. I felt like it was a really great webinar. The attendance was really good. And we hope that we were able to get you some clear information and some helpful information. We had a lot of really interesting, nuanced questions, which I love. And there was some, I would say that we could have answered them, a few of them. And I'm not talking about CDE or DSA, but I'm talking about OPSC. We want to clarify some of the answers we provided. And so I'm going to be reaching out, or one of us is going to be reaching out to a few of the attendees. And then we're also planning on doing some clarifying frequently asked questions. We have a brand new frequently asked questions for that program that we published in April, just last month. But we're going to update it with some more information that kind of came to the surface during that webinar. I don't think it was anything too critical. It's just some stuff that we probably could have been a little bit more clear on. So we're going to reach out and make sure we're doing that. And just as a reminder, John mentioned it, but the grant applications are due to CDE no later than December 1st of this year, 2025. And then the funding requests will be due to OPSC by June 30th of 2026. And that's for the 7th upcoming Career Technical Education Facilities Program funding cycle. So $300 million going out in that first round, the other $300 million. And then if there's any residual left from this round, we'll go to an 8th round. We don't know when that'll be yet, but it'll be at some point, after this next round happens. So looking forward to that. It's always been a really cool program. I don't know how many of you out there have CTE facilities at your campuses, but I've been out to lots of them, and they're always super cool to check out. So hoping to see a lot of great projects come through this time too. And then just a couple or a few various updates I have. It's the time of the year again for the state to complete its year-end accounting processes. So the state controller's office is not going to be generating new warrants from June 12th through July 14th. If you have an urgent need for a fund release during that time frame, please reach out to your county project manager and provide us a detailed reason for the request. If necessary, we can actually do paper warrants. And so that's going to be the process for that month or so. They're going to be kind of shut down from doing new warrants for that time. So if there's something you have a need for, let us know and we'll try our best to get that out to you. And then we have a couple of new project managers due to some internal movement amongst our teams and divisions, but also some outstanding vacancies we had. We're expecting more positions later this year associated with the administration of Prop 2. And so long as the final budget aligns with the May revise, we'll be expecting those and probably doing hiring, later this summer. So we're looking forward to kind of expanding our footprint there a little bit. And then lastly, I mentioned a few months back, I can't remember if it was last month or the month before, but we're right on the cusp of being ready to send out links and a new user guide for OPSC Online. We have spent a lot of time on updating the user guide. We had one in place, but it's getting to be a couple years old. It's something like 2,000 pages now. It's really robust. We've covered a lot of ground. We've worked really, really hard on those updates. OPSC Online is, the future of submittals. And so we're doing our best to provide you with a guide that is as clear and helpful as possible. So if you're interested in testing, we have a test database that we're going to provide a link for. You can go in there and do anything you want. It's not going to actually result in an actual form being submitted or anything like that, or your eligibility being taken away or anything. It's just going to be, it's like a sandbox. You can go in there and play and enter whatever you want and tinker around in there and just try to get used to how the interface works. And so we're going to be sending that link out. We're going to be doing testing over the next 6 months, probably 3 rounds, at least 2 rounds, hopefully 3 rounds. And then we're going to take all the feedback we get and update our user guide if that needs to be done. I can't thank the staff at OPSC enough for the work they've done on this, amongst their daily work and amongst implementation of Prop 2. For whatever reason, we've decided to really screw down hard this year. We're working really hard right now. It's been a very busy early 2025, but all these things are necessary, and all these things, we really just want to make the experiences that you have with our programs and with the implementation of the new proposition as seamless as possible. And so that's why we're doing all this. So if you are interested, I've received information I've received contacts from several people, and I thank you for that, those of you that have reached out to me. But if you're interested in testing the database and the user guide, I would really like to have your help. So we sent a survey out a while back, and I'm going to send it out to everyone who responded to the survey anyway, which is 40 or 50 people. And then I had some other people reach out to me as well. Then I'm going to send it to some people that I know will probably do some testing for us. But I'm going to try to expand that out to more and more people each time. So if that's something you're interested, please let us know. And I think that's all I have today. I hope you guys are all doing great. Enjoy the SAB tonight. It should be pretty tame, pretty quick. There's not a whole lot on the agenda, so it should be a quick one. And I hope to see you in person next month. So hope everybody's doing great, and I'll see you soon.
Brian, I got to tell you that I love master planning, love the conversation around master plan. I hope, though, you keep it as flexible as possible for districts, because master plans mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. And I know that applications sometimes aren't picked up at the same time that they are submitted for funding. And so anything that we're talking about that occurs in future years, try not to make it punitive to the districts that have to wait multiple years for funding when that master plan is picked up. That's one man's opinion only. And I often do think of OPSC as a little bit of a sandbox. Anytime you try to get funded, you definitely have to play around in the sandbox. But we thank you for your collaboration, for your partnership. And we'll now move on to the California Energy Coalition. When I became the Director of Facilities in San Bernardino, energy management was one of the responsibilities that I undertook. And at the time, I didn't even realize it was a part of the job description. It was never mentioned, never talked about. But all these years later, it's one of the things that I spend the majority of my time focused on is energy. And so I think of no greater topic to discuss right now than energy. So Nancy, take it away.
Thank you, Tom. Today, I just want to talk about one bill that's been grabbing some attention. It's been in the headlines. Yesterday, we had lots of folks out in front of the Capitol expressing their opinion on this bill. AB 942 by Assemblymember Calderon. This one pertains to net energy metering. Both Cash and the School Energy Coalition are opposed to this bill. We had a big win in the Assembly Energy Committee in that the bill was amended to remove the most problematic part, the part that said that those with solar energy systems contracted under NEM 1.0 or NEM 2.0 would automatically be pushed into NEM 3.0 after 10 years. So if you'd had it for 10 years, you would automatically be pushed onto that, making all of your financial calculations not pencil out, increasing your energy expenditures. That piece was amended out, thankfully, and in no small part to our advocacy and the advocacy of a very, very large coalition. The bill has continued to advance, and unfortunately, it still has a couple of things in it that we don't consider to be good policy. Specifically, it says that if a property with one of these solar systems under NEM 1.0 or 2.0 on it is sold or transferred, that again, it would automatically be pushed into NEM 3.0. So if you're the seller, that means that you would probably have to finish paying off that system overnight as opposed to being able to pay it off over the 20 years that you were guaranteed, we think, under the contract. And if you're the buyer, you would no longer benefit from buying a property with a system on it under NEM 1.0 or 2.0 because you'd automatically be pushed into NEM 3.0. The other thing the bill still does is that it says that owners of photovoltaic energy systems will no longer qualify for climate credits. This is a significant or potentially significant source of funds for most districts. Those districts that are availing themselves of their climate credits and selling them on the market are making in the tens of thousands, maybe over 100,000. It can vary. And that's money that you can use to put back into maintenance and whatever your needs are. Certainly, many districts, maybe most, are not really tapping into the potential, and it's something that we intend to improve on. However, we don't think it's fair that districts should lose access to this. So unfortunately, we had to remain in opposition to this bill, even though the worst part of it was taken out. And it's a very kind of hot button, very political bill. It's one you may continue to see in the news. So stay tuned and we'll see how that one goes. The other thing I want to talk about, well, quickly to mention state budget. We did not anticipate new resources for our issues, school energy, EV charging, things like that in the budget. And again, we were not disappointed. There were no new resources proposed for those things. But I also want to mention the federal budget. We have been anticipating changes to the Federal Inflation Reduction Act, which provided for the first time tax credits to public agencies in the form of the direct pay provisions. The direct pay provisions would remain intact based on the bill that the House just passed. However, the credits that are primarily useful to school districts are proposed to be eliminated, and those are about solar and storage and about EV charging equipment. So those are proposed to be eliminated. The bill now has to go through the Senate, and then there's a reconciliation process. All of that will play out until the fall. That's when the federal government approves its budget, which means now is a great time to contact your member of Congress, especially if they are a member of the House or Senate Republican caucus, because that is the majority party. So with that, I will pass it back to Tom.
Thank you, Nancy. And as I was walking around the Capitol yesterday, I noticed there was a group of people protesting AB 942. So I proudly joined the crowd, took a sign for 3 or 4 minutes and protested AB 942 because San Bernardino is one of those school districts that retained its environmental attributes as a part of the installation of our solar. And yearly, we sell those credits on the market, and we take that money and put it back into renewable sources of energy as a way of replenishing a fund to continue to double down on reducing our operational costs and energy. So I hope that that bill, I hope the bill overall doesn't go anywhere, but if it does, hopefully it excludes schools and takes into account that it is going to hurt operationally school districts. And with that, we're going to call up Ian for the federal network update. There's a lot going on at the federal level, so I'm sure there's no amount of topics that Ian could talk about there. So who knows?
Thanks, Tom. Yes. And Nancy actually did a really nice job of focusing on probably the piece that we're looking at most closely is that all those energy tax credits, direct pay, all of those pieces, what's exactly going to happen with those in the big bill. So one of the things we're going to do, the CFN is having a Zoom scheduled for June 10th. And Bob Canavan, our federal lobbyist, will be there, and he will be giving us a pretty detailed summary where exactly we are with this program, as well as other programs that folks are interested in. We worked with a fair amount of agencies as well, the Department of Energy, actually the IRS, FEMA, other pieces. So it's not only those programs that are of concern in particular federally, but right now those are the big ones. So we'll get a little bit more information about that on our meeting on the 10th. Nothing more other than that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ian. All right, so the Cash Fall Conference is scheduled for October 15th through the 17th. It's at the Hyatt Regency in Irvine. The online registration went out early, so you all should have received those emails from Cash to get registered for the conference. So please feel free to get your hotel rooms and start planning for that event. We're going to be going over a lot of great topics, reviewing some of the highlights of Prop 2. As Ian mentioned earlier, there will be a section carved out for the maintenance, and then some other just great professional development opportunity or conversations that we're going to be discussing at the fall conference. Leave the clicker alone. And the annual conference, please mark your calendars for the 47th annual conference. It'll be held on February 25th through the 27th in Sacramento. And we have a planning meeting scheduled for today at 1:30 if you would like to join. All of the co-chairs have been selected, so we have everybody in place. We've received all the workshop submissions. So I think we're around 180 submissions. We extended the date, so that gave some of those people that were straggling to get their submissions in, they were able to get them in. So we have a lot to cover, a lot of great workshop topics that will be reviewed, and then we'll narrow it down to a more narrow selection of topics that will be discussed. And really looking forward to working with the planning committee on the next annual conference that'll be held in Sacramento. The next slide. Do it. All right. So if you have any upcoming RFPs or RFQs or job openings at your district, please feel free to utilize the Cash Professional Opportunities job board that we have available. You can log into the website and submit your postings that you want to share with everybody else. This gets to a broader network of people, so we can see everything that's available if you're looking for a new opportunity or for just to expand your network of communications out to everybody. So please feel free to use the Cash Job Exchange board. And then I will leave that alone. And please mark your calendars. The next Cash Day will be held on It will be held on June 25th. You can you can be virtual or be in person here. We'll be here available for you. So if we don't have any other questions in the chat box or anything else, we'll go ahead and close today. Thank you.